Hey guys, TheNaturegirl30 here, and yeah, I'm not wearing this as a Dusty Rhodes tribute. This is just something I wanted to wear today. But yeah, I really did want to sit on WrestleMania Night 2, WrestleMania 39 Night 2. I want to sit on it for a little bit because I was pretty conflicted. Um, when it came to night two, I didn't necessarily have the same emotions and the same feelings that I had for night one. So I'm kind of happy I waited a little bit. And as you can see, is not with Irvin. But the thing is, WrestleMania night two overall, well, I'll get to that towards the end of the video. Let's talk about the matches. Let's talk about the opener. When it came to the opener, Brock Lesnar versus Omos is something I did not want. It's something I didn't ask for, something I didn't need. But it was way better than night one's opener with John Cena versus Austin Theory. At least it seemed like that Brock actually cared a little bit about this match, and seeing how almost kind of had the upper hand going in, and then of course he ended up losing, which I think was a good call. It seemed like it was a pretty it seemed like he cared. He actually put something into it. I can't say the same thing about Cena. I really can't. I thought that Cena would, after that massive promo he did, I really thought he would actually he would probably put Austin Theory over. And even though Austin Theory won the match, he still is not considered the strongest opponent. He's still considered the weakest. And will almost, to be honest with you, I'm not going to say he put him over, but I'm not going to say he buried him either. That match was a lot better than the opener itself from night one. So I will give him that. But honestly, moving on to, I don't know, the Women's Invitational, I guess what it's called. We honestly don't know at all what it's for. Like, we don't know if it's going towards the tag team titles. We don't know if it's going towards the women's championship. We don't know what it is going for. It's just there. And in my opinion, it's just something that should have stayed on SmackDown and Raw, which is what they did that night. And that's the one thing that confused me. I'm like, okay, they actually did this match on Friday at SmackDown the night before WrestleMania. Why are they doing it here? They did the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal on SmackDown. Why did they do? And they did that on SmackDown, but for some reason they did it again on night two, which should have been on night one. The booking was a bit weird because nobody really cared about that match, let alone the winner. I can't even remember who the oh yeah, Ronda Rousey. And Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler was better. They were barely in the match, and then they ended up winning the whole thing. It just didn't make any sense to me at all. It really didn't. That match should have stayed on Raw or SmackDown. It shouldn't even have been on the show. I don't understand why it was there. But it was. We had a winner. In my opinion, that match should have been taken off the card. But moving on from another match, from a match I didn't care about to a match I did care about was the IC Championship match with Gunther, Sheamus, and Drew McIntyre. I think that was Drew's last night. I think that was his last run in the WWE. From what I've heard and also scenes from after the match was over, I think he gave Sheamus a hug after it was all over. But I think that was Drew's last run. I could be wrong on that, but either or, it was a barn storm. I mean, that match was amazing. I can't even think of the term for it, but it was absolutely amazing. That was probably one of the best matches of the night, in my opinion. They definitely gave the belt some worth. I know a lot of people didn't like the fact that Gunther won, that he retained and should have went to Sheamus. In my humble opinion, I will give him this. Before I was like, Sheamus didn't do nothing with the belt, but I stand corrected. When he had the United States Championship, he actually tried to do something with that title. He can make that title be worth so much more, and that's what the IC belt needs. Now that Drew is out of the way, I'm hoping that they'll probably have one last run and Sheamus does win. It has to be very satisfying. In my opinion, this is how I would probably book it. I would book Sheamus to win Money in the Bank. Money in the Bank is going to be in the UK this year. There's also a good chance there's going to be a SummerSlam in the UK this year. So, if with Money in the Bank, I would definitely book Sheamus to win. 100%. I will book him to win and have him cash in WrestleMania. And especially for any title. The thing is that it's going to be for the IC belt. Does it make any sense for him not to go for the main title? Right now, no, because of the outcome of the main event. It doesn't make any sense for them to go after Roman Reigns, seeing how Roman Reigns is, well, a Universal Champion and he's has a lot of goons. But people probably think that Sheamus can bust through him. But now that Roman Reigns has a title, I would say no. But I would probably book him to have the Money in the Bank, win the Money in the Bank briefcase for him to either pick the Universal Championship or pick the IC belt. In my opinion, it would make sense for him to go after Gunther. But I know everyone thinks that, if you have the Money in the Bank briefcase, that you would have to go towards the highest belt. You can go to any belt you want. But I really think that he's going to bring some worth to the mid-card championship if he does win. So I'm not really upset about the outcome. I was rooting for Gunther because honestly, I really do want Imperium to be the most dominant faction in the WWE because I know how much I hate factions, but Imperium was heavily dominant in NXT. And since Trips is head of creative, yes, he's still a head of creative, there's a good chance that he can probably put Imperium in a good place. So I'm hoping that that's going to lead to that. Now that Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens happen to be the tag team champions and they took it away from the Usos, then there's a good chance that Imperium could take the titles. And I hope that that's the case. But anyway, I really did like this match. I think it was the match of the night. I really did like the outcome. And it pretty much was the best match on the card so far. Moving on to Bianca Belair versus Asuka. The match itself was really good. It really was good. My condolences to the little girl, because I had actually watched Falana Productions, and he pretty much said that the little girl, the contortionist, lost her mom that night. So the fact that she was out there performing, my condolences for her and for her family. But also, Bianca Belair, let's be honest, she is booked to be the female version of John Cena, which is not a good thing. Her reign is starting to become a little bit stale. She needs she needs more challenges. There's not many challenges in the women's division. Let's be honest. There's not really a lot that can go toe to toe with her and make it interesting. I'm sorry, there really isn't anyone there except unless you're a four horsewoman, Ronda Rousey, or Rhea Ripley. And it was Asuka, but Asuka, they pretty much downgraded her ever since Carmella dominated her in that match, which I still not gonna forget. But it's a shame that it wasn't Asuka. It should have been Asuka. If you wanted to continue the chase and also change a little bit about Bianca, make her a little bit more desperate, maybe heelish possibly, to get the title back, I would have been fine with that. But the fact that they actually chose Bianca to win, in my opinion, was not a good call. I don't think the right person won. I really don't. And it's not because of the fact that I like Asuka. Bianca needs a challenge. She needs a chase. She had a great build, and in my opinion, she peaked when she faced Sasha Banks at WrestleMania. When she peaked at Sasha Banks, and then she just was kind of stagnant from there. She needs something to kind of pick up the pace a little bit. She needs a challenge, and I really wish that Asuka won so she can give her more of a reason to chase and bring that hunger back. And that's the one thing that concerns me. Yeah, she's there for a year, but she's been a champion for a year, but who cares? And I think that's also another thing that's plaguing them. The fact that they're so stuck on history and history making moments is taken away from the story. You really do want to focus more on the story instead for the history making moments. The history making moments are going to happen whether you want them, whether you try to control them or not. They're going to happen eventually. But if you keep trying to control the narrative by trying to extend someone's reign out just for reasons to put a stat on it, it's going to ruin the story. In my opinion, they did that with Trips, and also they did that with the main event, but I'll get into that a little bit later. But other than that, I really don't agree with Asuka losing. I think that she should have a win. This is her second WrestleMania loss in her entire career. Big loss. And I don't blame her if she does want to go back. I really don't, because she's done everything she could possibly do to make it right. And I bet it's frustrating for her. But anyway, I really hope they do something with Bianca to make her reign less stale. But moving on from there, I'm going to get this out the way. A lot of people were saying the fact that The Miz had two matches. He had a match with Pat McAfee, and like I said in the video I had with Irvin, I didn't mind because I love Pat McAfee. But I also did not ask for Shane McMahon. I love Shane McMahon as much as the next person. I absolutely love Shane McMahon, but he did not need to be here. It is a given that this guy has been gone for nearly a year and he is incredibly green again. Well, not green, but very, very, very rusty. And the fact that he blew his quad doing a leapfrog. You don't need to do this again. And it's shades of his dad, what happened to him at the Royal Rumble. He blew both his quads out. And I'm like, how do you blow your quad out doing that, man? What did you do? What did you do? But anyway, the fact that he blew his quads out and facing the Miz to where the Miz couldn't even fight anymore, and then you had Snoop Dogg and his, he was high as a kite. Come on, we all know that that dude was probably high as a kite, doing the worst people's elbow I've ever seen in my entire life. That could have been taken out, but I know they needed a filler, so it was there. But moving on to the Hell in a Cell match. I'm gonna say this: the Hell in a Cell match actually was good, but when you bring back the Demon, there really is there's no reason to, because the Demon was humiliated when they faced Roman Reigns. When the top buckle broke and he landed on his face, that was the death of the Demon. But the one thing that Saul Monster said, which I highly agree, you can't kill what's already dead. And the Demon is dead. There's really no way to bring the Demon back, just like there's no way to bring the Fiend back from Bray Wyatt. And I might get into that a little bit in another video, who knows. But the thing is, there's really no way to bring back the Demon. The Demon is dead. And it kind of showed throughout the years. The Demon is always in matches where he's losing now. It's not how it was back in the day when it was instant intimidation when you see the Demon. But the match itself, I love the Demon's new design. I love his new design. I love everything about it. But the fact that he ended up having a massive wound on his head after that ladder shot, and he had to get butterfly clips in his head in order to keep it closed. I'm just like, good grief, I didn't know it was that bad. But in my humble opinion, the Raw man won because Edge already got his retribution for Beth Phoenix in the previous pay-per-view. I think it was the Rumble, if I can remember. But in a previous Big Four pay-per-view, he's already beaten Judgment Day, as well as beating Finn Balor to get retribution for what they did to Beth Phoenix. That's already happened. So why did he win here? It made more sense for Finn because Finn really needed to win more so than Edge does. That doesn't mean it's going to be a continuation down the line, because we know that Edge is planning on retiring back in Canada when he actually performs in Canada. But it would have made more sense for Finn to win here because Finn needs to win more than Edge does. And the fact that you're bringing back the Demon, you want to bring, I don't know, some kind of, you want to bring more, not emphasis, but the Demon's name is kind of trash now. You want to bring him back up. I think the wrong guy won here, and I think it should have been Finn Balor, 100%. But of course, Edge won, and it's what it is. Now we are going to get into the main event. The main event itself actually was pretty good. It was a pretty good match. But the one thing that bugs me, and I know a lot of people saying, did you expect Roman Reigns to lose? I'm like, yeah, because how the storyline was written, it was actually showing the breakdown of the bloodline. The bloodline slowly breaking away. They have done this for months. That is what they planned to do. This was a last minute change. The reason why I'm saying that is because we have enough evidence in our face to show us they were going in a direction to where the bloodline was going to fall. And people were invested in the bloodline falling down because Roman Reigns has had the belt at that point for nearly 3 years. And like I said, the whole legacy thing is what's killing it. You don't want to be focused too much on stats and history. History is going to eventually be made, whether you try to control it or not. When it came to this, it seems like they were trying to control the narrative. They were trying to make Roman Reigns to be, the longest running champion in modern day history. Okay, he would have been that way anyway because he had the belt for 2 years. He would have been in that category anyway. But the thing is, they already booked it to where the bloodline was going to fall. The fact that you had the Usos losing their championships, it was eventually going to happen. Then if you had Roman Reigns lose his title, he still would have been fighting to be the tribal chief and actually be dominant in the family. He still would have been continuing to do that. And that's actually the air conditioner in the background. But anyway, the thing is, this could have gone in so many different directions. But when you have Solo Sikoa, a guy that was already banned from ringside, come right back out with a hood on, we kind of know it's you, and do a Samoan Spike to Cody Rhodes, only for Cody to lose, that bothered me. The reason why I did is because they actually pulled the same trope out. They pulled the ref bump trope out twice before the night 2. They did it in NXT Stand and Deliver, and they did it in night 1. We've seen this before. They did the whole thing again when you have somebody banned from ringside and then have them come back and interfere. They've done that before. It is a trope that's getting old, and I think that was last minute. The same thing with the Usos coming out. I think that was last minute. They've already set up for the storyline to be over. They already set up for the domino effect to begin, which I think should have happened. Now, I'm not going to say it was going to completely end that night. It would have been a domino effect. You still would have had the bloodline still as a faction. But having them slowly drift apart, that could have been something going on down the line. You could still make it a good story. But the fact they had Solo Sikoa come out to do a Samoan Spike when Roman Reigns could have won on his own to cement himself as a tribal chief, that would have been the best way to do it. I don't know. I don't like the finish. I don't like how it was done. Now, myself and my Club Atlantis crew, we all agree that it should not have been Cody. We all agree that Cody Rhodes had too swift of a reign. Even in my previous video, my previous rant about Cody Rhodes and him being a narcissist and all that stuff. The fact is that Cody Rhodes' reign was far too clean. Not reign, but his goal to get into WrestleMania was far too clean, far too easy. The fact that he did not have any issues, any difficulty beating Seth Rollins after having a torn pec, come on. And I'm not getting into that match. I've already done a video of how overrated it is. But anyway, the fact is, you have him with a torn pec conquering all odds to beat Seth Rollins. Not once, but twice. He could have beaten him once, but correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. But anyway, the fact is he beat Seth Rollins. Then he came in at number 30 and beat Gunther, who was there from day one, from minute 1, as being number 1 all the way down to the last person, only to lose to Cody, fresh as a daisy at 30. And then him going towards Roman and him going to hit. I'm still calling him Homelander. I don't care what anybody says. But the fact he's doing his Homelander run, trying to be a babyface and all this other stuff, and trying to be the peacemaker between everybody, I'm like, no. It was way too easy. And then he loses against Roman at WrestleMania, a person he barely faced, he barely talked to. And that's another thing about Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns has not been there. He has not been there to defend the title, and it's for, we know what the reasons are. It's because of his health concerns. But the thing is, if you have a champion like that who has both belts, you want to make him look strong. Instead of having his goons make him look strong, you want to show the crowd and everybody around him why he's the tribal chief. That would have been a better way to do it. That would have been a better way to have him cement himself as a tribal chief when he beats him clean with no help. And I'm honestly shocked that Paul Heyman didn't do anything except for making interference on the getting on the ropes and interfering with the ref. That was the only thing he did that night. He didn't really do anything else. But how it was done was the one thing that just left a sour taste in my mouth, because they've already kind of gave us hints. Not so much hints, but they actually showed us in story how it was slowly starting to fall and how Sami Zayn was going to be the catalyst on how it will start falling. And it would have made sense for it to crumble that night. It really would have made sense. Would it have been completely over? No. Because the bloodline still would have been there, and it would have created a domino effect, having the Usos defect, then having Solo Sikoa go with the Usos, then having, of course, Paul Heyman find somebody else. It would have slowly started breaking away like a domino effect. And I would have been fine with that than what they did last night. It just left a sour taste in my mouth, and it didn't really feel like he was truly the tribal chief. That really bothered me. And honestly, they could have done better. They really could have done better with how the story ended. And I know that they had the backstage. I mean they had the whole backstage talk with the media strum after that, and how Triple H was saying, the stories don't end in WWE. Yes, they do. There are plenty of stories that were actually over in WWE, and this was the best way to do it. This was a last minute call. They're trying to stretch this whole thing out. And the thing is, the one thing I'll say about some American stories is they will beat a dead horse until that horse is like mush on the ground. Not for all the horse lovers out there, but anyway, the fact is, they will consistently keep going and keep just stretching out storylines as far as they can stretch till it breaks. There has to be a beginning and an end. There can't be a continuation to something that is about to end, and they have to accept that things do end. But I really wanted it to end there. It would have been poetic justice. It would have made more sense for it to end there. And Roman still would have been in the picture, especially if Roman's going to disappear for a few months. But he was on Raw last night, so I really don't know what's going to go from there. But anyway, the fact is, I didn't like the finish. The match itself was really good, but I just didn't like the finish. I didn't like the build leading on up to it. To kind of do another swerve when swerves aren't really necessary. You don't have to swerve everything. But other than that, I just didn't like it. But overall, guys, the night two was not as good as night one. Night one was amazing. It was damn near perfect. Night two, good grief, it just was disappointing because they tried to suspend everyone's disbelief by or trying to make it less predictable by swerving everyone. But there are just some times you just gotta accept that people are going to know how things end. It's just how you make it end, and you have to make it count. But night two wasn't as good as night one. It wasn't a bad overall WrestleMania. It's just night two was a bit more disappointing than night one. I hope they do better next year. Now that changes are happening, and I know about Endeavor purchasing WWE now, so we'll see what changes are going to be happening then. But other than that, guys, when it comes to WrestleMania as a whole, this WrestleMania could have gone down as one of the best WrestleManias of all time. But unfortunately, it kind of missed its mark.